This question is just testing your ability to move between frequencies, relative frequencies, and percents. You were given important information at the onset, and that is that we have a total count of 127 students in this particular data set who told us what their favorite movie genre was out of these five. And we have this premise that we've dropped ink on the paper, so we don't have all of the information. Now, some of these are easier to handle than others. Um, if you were doing this in some sort of order, moving between a percent and a relative frequency is fairly straightforward. And those questions were just moving decimals, right? Where instead of writing things as percents, we're writing them as proportions. Um, as you can see in the next question, right, we have this 0.071 and then we had a 7.1%. So we're just multiplying by 100 to get to our percents and dividing by 100 to get to our relative frequencies. So for this first one, we could move that decimal twice or divide by 100 to change that 29.1% into a relative frequency. And for the horror percent, we could do the same thing in the other direction, right? If we're going this way, all we need to do is multiply by 100 or move that decimal place twice. So we'd be at 14.2%. And they should have all been set up so that you were okay whether you rounded a little bit differently than I did or didn't include the percent symbol. The ones that are a little more challenging were definitely finding the frequency, and then in rom-coms, I didn't give you either, so you couldn't use that other piece. You had to know this idea of going between part of whole to get to percentages or relative frequencies. But we did this when I showed you in that last video, moving between the two. We did some of this work before, so I'm going to start with the rom-com. I always go for the easiest thing first. We know we have 34 out of our 127 students saying that their favorite movie genre is rom-com. So we're just going to do 34 divided by 137 in our calculator, our part of our whole, and that's going to help us figure this all out. So let's go ahead. 34 divided by 137. Boom. I'm going to move this over so I can read it. Looks like we have 0.248. So 0.248. And yes, we can write that as a percentage as well. Cool. And drama, we're going to go the other direction, right? We can think of taking that percentage from our total value, or we could set up that same problem we just did. We don't have the number out of the 137 that we would need to get out that 0.0708 or 0.071. So we could set up an algebra problem, or we could just take 7% of 137. This one is one where you might have gotten in some trouble. 0.071 times 137. Because, whoa. Oh, 127. Oh, whew. I'm leaving this in the video. I refuse to redo it. Let me bring that back. The second enter on a graphing calculator can bring it back. Out of 127, not 137. But you get 9.02. Now we have to recognize that we were talking about whole people, so we shouldn't be reporting out a decimal in this case, right? These frequencies are all whole numbers because we had a certain number of people. We rounded. You can see when I grabbed this table from StatCrunch, I didn't round it for this particular example video, while I did in our question on Canvas. So go ahead, we got 9, we're going to round that to a number of people, and that is how you would go fill out this table if you were missing certain parts of it by hand.